Hello, everybody. My name is DrNiggle, and welcome to the Church of Chonkwij Podcast. I am joined tonight by Masami, Kosen, OmegaConstruct, and Zeroburn. And this week, in fascinating, popular CD Projekt Red news, Cyberpunk update got a fix for the game-breaking bugs, and the fix introduced a new game-breaking bug. That's your news for Cyberpunk 2077 this week. How's everybody doing?
I did not realize that the actual fix introduced a new bug, but that'll be interesting to check out. I haven't played since the new update got out.
It's great. You know what? CD Projekt Red's doing fine.
I'm sure they are.
Oh boy! All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had some topics to talk about. I know Leetness is a user of. Oh no, does he have Xbox Live? No, he doesn't.
No, he uses Game Pass.
Right. Okay, he uses Game Pass. So the top story this week was that Microsoft introduced or increases their price of Xbox Live Gold subscription, and Xbox gamers had a soft revolt, mildly putting it, soft revolt. And Microsoft backtracks on the price hike and decided to make free-to-play games not require subscription as sort of a peace offering, I guess.
Interesting. That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, it wasn't just a mild little price hike either. It was, in some cases, depending on which package you got, as much as 100% price increase over what it was before.
Wow, really?
So the question here is why? Why did they think that was an okay thing to do in the first place?
Because they like money.
Yeah, money make a world go round.
Yeah, but that just seems to be kind of excessive, though.
The only thing I can figure, and this is just based off of the years I spent playing Xbox, the only thing I can figure is they were making a push to get people to pick up Game Pass and switch to Ultimate. I don't, in reading these articles, because they've updated the articles so frequently after the change, I don't know if were the prices for the Ultimate adjusted as well, or was it just the Gold?
Yeah, I was about to say, were any of the other tiers adjusted, or was that the only one that was adjusted? And what was the total percentage increase?
The price of a 1-month Gold membership was increased 1 USD, and the price of a 3-month membership was increased 5 USD. Equivalent amounts in local markets. So it looks like it was just the Gold membership that was targeted.
Okay, so that makes sense. So the only thing I can figure, just based off of, again, my time on the Xbox, is they were working to get people to switch over to Ultimate. And it's because Ultimate includes Game Pass, and the more people that have Game Pass, the more games that are getting out there. And even though you're playing them as part of Game Pass, they're getting screen time. So that is probably a thing.
That seems to be what most of the community thinks, is that it's just part of a push towards Game Pass.
It was the release note from Microsoft right after the prices for Gold memberships go on to say, if you'd like to upgrade your Gold membership to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, your remaining Gold time will also convert directly to Ultimate. So yeah, I'd understand if the gaming community got that out of this announcement, because it does seem like that's what they're trying to do.
So right before I left Xbox, right before I got rid of all of my console stuff, they were pushing that really hard. And once you switch over to Ultimate, to Game Pass Ultimate, you cannot go back to Xbox Live. The gold, just the standard Gold membership. You are locked in to Ultimate.
Seriously?
Or at least that's the way that it was when it first rolled out.
Okay, that seems to be... Now, does Game Pass Ultimate, or whatever this is, does that cover both PC as well as also Xbox, or is it just only an Xbox thing?
Well,
no, it's a PC thing. You can get Microsoft Game Pass, because that's the thing. It's not Xbox Game Pass. It's Microsoft Game Pass.
Oh,
And it
okay.
gives you access to all sorts of games through the Microsoft Store on PC. Linus uses Game Pass,
Oh,
and
okay.
he plays games off of that. He's obviously not here, so we can't ask him his feelings on it. But yeah, so Game Pass is a Microsoft service, not specifically an Xbox service.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, when I briefly had a free trial due to Discord Nitro, like from what I remember, there's certain games that were obviously PC only, and then you could basically transfer the thing onto your Xbox because there were some Xbox only games too. It's kind of like they're trying to get more PC gamers a little bit, is what it feels like.
Well, it's just nice to show that Microsoft is starting to treat PC and console gamers as part of the same ecosystem, and backing off of the hardcore exclusives that have plagued the console versus PC debate for generations of games now, and in game consoles and systems and whatnot. So I think it's a nice step forward, definitely, just conceptually, for what they've been doing with Game Pass. And I don't know if you remember, but for a while, the Microsoft Store, for gaming, even on PC, it was called like the Xbox Store or something. It was still tied into the Xbox name, but they've backed off of that.
Yeah,
So-
conceptually, I agree. What they're doing is a good thing. The execution on this was kind of terrible, and Microsoft did roll back everything that they said after releasing an apology, saying that we messed up today and you were right to let us know.
Well,
So,
honestly, the most significant thing, really, is the fact that now you don't even need an Xbox Live subscription to play free-to-play games anymore. That, to me, is honestly the most significant part of this, because that brings, that alone is apparently it was something Microsoft was planning on announcing, and they just sort of like dropped it as, like you said, a peace offering to try and button up the bad PR that this whole like surprise price hike had caused. But it's a nice gesture, but all told, this is still a pretty negative PR situation for them. Because like that alone, just making free to play games actually free to play would have been huge PR for them if they had announced that in isolation as they had initially been planning on. But they fucked this up so much, they had to extend some sort of olive branch.
yep. And they did. So anyway, moral of the story is the Xbox Live Gold subscription prices have not changed, even though Microsoft tried. And yeah, their motivations are a little bit more obvious now. They're trying to push people to Ultimate. They're trying to connect the two platforms, which again, not necessarily a bad thing. It's just they went about it in the wrong way in this particular instance.
I
Speaking
actually
of-
just noticed something about the prices for gold. They're $59.99 for retail for 12 months. That actually put them on the same price level as God, what do you call it? PlayStation Plus. And there's no like
Oh,
tier or anything like that for PlayStation. There is only PlayStation Plus, and for like a year you can get PlayStation Plus for $59.99.
that's
So that's
interesting. All right, I didn't know that.
yeah. I was looking at the prices there and I was just like that's interesting. The only reason why I thought about it is because I actually got a thing from PlayStation or from Sony about getting. They had this deal going on where you could get PlayStation Plus for 2 years for the price of a 1-year membership, which I thought was actually kind of cool.
Nice. Okay.
Well, what kind of service is PlayStation Plus?
Well, PlayStation Plus gives you access to a bunch of free games per month, usually 1 to 2 of them. depending on what could be basically what is.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I thought. Like, so it's an extra service on top of being able to play PlayStation Online. That's where Xbox is different, and that like you have to have an Xbox Live subscription to play Xbox games online.
Oh no, you still have to have that. Like, for instance, like playing Monster Hunter World, which is strictly an online only game, you need to have PlayStation Plus in order to do that. You also need to have also for like playing Bloodborne online or any game online, you still need to have PlayStation Plus too.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's part of the reason I got away from consoles, because I think that in concept is shitty. Like,
Oh no, I
you're
totally agree with
charging
you.
people to access the internet. Like,
Yeah, I already have an internet subscription, and I already bought my PlayStation. Why do I need to pay another subscription fee to use my PlayStation on the internet that I pay for? I
no,
get that.
I totally agree with you. That's why I stopped personally myself, and why I didn't pursue getting another one. That's kind of the reason why I've gone back to playing more PC games than I've been playing console games.
Oh, don't you worry. It's only a matter of time before the Steam network becomes a thing.
Eh?
no,
It depends
Steam
on.
makes plenty of money.
Always
Yeah.
more money. Come on, you're not thinking like a good capitalist. Greed. Greed
If
drives this world.
If Steam wanted to do something like that, they would have done it long ago when they still had an exclusive stranglehold on the market. Now that there's, even though the competitors are all bad and woefully underfeatured compared to Steam, the time has passed for them to be able to pull something like that, I think.
That is true. It would be another feather in Epic's cap if Steam tried to pull something like that. It would just give them more attention.
True.
Just be like,
Speaking
hey,
of
we don't do that crap.
Speaking of greedy capitalists, looks like Tencent is raising billions for a hostile takeover of EA.
God damn it, I do the transitions.
That was beautiful.
Fucking shit. Yeah, anyway, in other news, Tencent is raising billions for a potential hostile takeover of EA, Take-Two, or other major game studios. They brought this up. I'm pretty sure Omega is the one who put this on the list. Yes?
Yep.
You found out that they bought a majority stake in Clay Entertainment, who put out such games as Don't Starve Together and Oxygen Not Included.
Both of the
brilliant.
titles of those games are amazing, especially Oxygen Not Included.
Oh, they're good games too. Have you ever played either of them?
No, I have not. This is
They're
the first
they're
I've
fun.
ever
They're
heard
fun
of them.
games. No, they're fun games. Don't Starve Together. Well, they're both survival games.
Okay.
Don't Starve Together. You're in charge of your pawn, your character,
Mhm.
and you go around and you have to farm. Do everything that you do in a survival game. Farm
Right.
materials, craft from the materials, stay alive, and it's a fun thing to explore for a while. Omega and I did it for a while. A couple of years ago, and it was fun while it lasted, but yeah, it is what it is. Oxygen Not Included, on the other hand, you are in charge of a colony of pawns. You're not actually in charge of instructing any of them. You just sort of you build things. They work at stations. They mine. They craft. I'm not really sure what the point of that game is, other than build a rocket ship and leave your asteroid. But it's a I like Oxygen Not Included because it's an interesting survival take on it's an interesting survival game placed in an environment where thermodynamics are a real thing. Entropy is a real thing. So you're on an asteroid. Outside of the asteroid is vacuum. Inside of the asteroid, you can produce oxygen, but you're going to release some heat. What do you do with the heat? You have to put it into a cold biome. Well, what happens when the cold biome warms up and there's no more cold? It's this constant balancing act. That you have, and it's interesting for that and many other reasons. Anyway, Tencent bought a majority stake in Clay Entertainment, and now, yeah, according to this article, they are raising a lot of money. What do we think? Do we think that they would ever actually be able to buy Take-Two, who is the publisher of GTA and Red Dead?
Maybe. It depends.
I mean, they'd have quite a uphill climb because there is no If I remember correctly, there is no single majority holder that they can just acquire to take controlling shares of the company. So if they were going to go for it, they would need to do a full-on like buying up shares from multiple different sources and investment firms and blah 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 blah. So, but they've certainly shown no qualms about buying up big studios when they can and buying up games when and where they can. So
Yeah, didn't they?
yeah. If they're hoarding a bunch of money, they're doing it for some reason.
Yep.
Did Tencent? Didn't they acquire the company that owns Warframe?
Yeah, a long time
Yes. Leu Holdings, which was a Chinese holding company which owned Digital Extremes. Yeah, they did last year. Mid last year, Tencent acquired Leu.
And isn't Tencent the same company that has ownership over TikTok?
Yes.
By the way,
Huh.
17 minutes and 40 seconds.
Thank you.
It's how long we made it in before mentioning Warframe.
But yeah, so like with Tencent raising all this money, there's also thoughts that they might be buying a big South Korean developer, but
that could be really interesting.
It's hard to say.
South Korean capitalists are actually almost a bit better to deal with than, say, for instance, American capitalists or Chinese capitalists.
Tencent, by the way, TikTok, by the way, owned by ByteDance, which is a privately held company.
I wanted to say that Tencent was involved in there somewhere, but I must be wrong. Interesting, though. That it'll be interesting to see what exactly happens to that, because I mean, if EA actually gets bought out, or Take-Two gets bought out, the ripple effect that will have through the gaming market will be very interesting to see. Who knows? Maybe EA and a lot of these other companies will actually start producing some quality products again.
Why would Tencent buying a company have anything to do with that? Tencent is just there to rake in cash. And
that's true.
EA is the best company in the world at shoving microtransactions down your throat to make tons of cash. So if there's any reason why Tencent would be interested in acquiring them, it's so that they can milk all of the EA games that make shit tons of money. Rather, like Tencent they don't give a shit about making games. They're an investment company. They are a company that exists to make money.
What I'm trying to get at here is that their investment in EA may very well have the effect of actually getting investments in certain parts of these gaming companies that might produce either more games that are hopefully not just microtransaction cash grabs. I mean, I look at it from the hopefully not. I'm trying to look at it from the somewhat optimistic view there, not the realistic view that they're just doing this for all the money in the world.
Which is the realistic view, right?
Every time Tencent buys a company, they do say like, we have no interest in having any sort of oversight or control. We want you to keep making the games that you're making. We're just here to milk cash off of you. So that seems to be what they do. Is they don't go out and start telling them how to make games. They just buy gaming companies because they know that gaming is big business and is making a ton of money.
Kosen, you might have been thinking about or no, maybe you weren't thinking about it, but Tencent does have this history, as Omega pointed out. Riot Games was acquired by by Tencent, and Riot Games obviously does League of Legends, and DE was acquired by Tencent. In both of these cases, fairly recently, in the past 2 years, Tencent hasn't really done anything to these companies. That's sort of the proof behind what Omega is saying. Tencent hasn't stepped in at any point and been like, no, you should go in this direction. They pretty much let the companies operate as they have been operating.
DE's case, they were bought by a Chinese company that didn't do anything and said, keep making the games that you make, and then that company was bought by Tencent. So
Lei Holdings.
It's just Chinese investment companies that are buying up what they see as good investments right now, which is video games.
Lei Holdings back in, I think it was 2014, or it could have been even 2015, saw that Digital Extremes was in a rough spot financially, and they were pretty much going to put down Warframe because they couldn't afford upkeep anymore. That's when Lei stepped in and bought over 60% of Digital Extremes stock, and essentially gave them the funding that they needed to keep on going forward with the game. Coincidentally, at that time, Warframe, the game mechanics and the gameplay shifted pretty dramatically. The system, we'll get into the specifics. The long and the short of it is, everything used to be card-based. You'd pick up a card, you'd be able to play that card on a mission, and that would determine what kind of mission it was. That's how Warframe used to be. None of that anymore.
Oh.
Just very forward mechanics where, like, you have a node, it's a mission type, you know what you're getting into, you go there, you play, etc. All of that happened about the same time. So Lei could have been stepping in and directing them and saying, that's a bad idea, why don't you go this way, and you'll do it, thank you, because we have all your money. But now that Warframe is in the kind of shape that it is, when Digital Extremes was acquired by Tencent, as we've been saying over and over, Tencent didn't really do anything. Warframe was in a good spot. They were making over $100 million of revenue gross a year easily. And so Tencent probably just saw that and was like, okay, we'll get in on that.
Oh, okay.
Same thing with Riot Games. Same thing with other multiplayer online battle arena games. They seem to, Chinese holding companies, Lei and Tencent in particular, seem to be favoring the free-to-play, massive multiplayer online type games because I guess they really are the moneymakers. I mean, look at Path of Exile. Same deal
Also
as Warframe.
by Tencent.
Yeah, exactly. You pay for glitter, and it's really profitable.
Like I said, the main thing about this situation is this is not an Xbox Studios buying up big developers like we talked about a few months back. This is a company that is interested in making money buying a game studio. This company, like Tencent, is not interested in making games. They are interested in owning companies that make games. So they're not going out and I don't know of any instance where Tencent has gone out and been like, okay, we bought this company, you're going to now change the way you do business. You're not like, this is how you're going to make games now. We want you to make this game, this game, and this game, versus like Xbox Studios, which buys a developer studio and assigns them a game to make and tells them what they want. So it's a very different situation in terms of that. Tencent seems to be purely in it for the business.
That makes sense.
Question that I would have then is what happens when League of Legends stops making profit? Does Tencent actually step in and try to do something, or do they just gut the company, or do they just sell it off to somebody else? But such is the nature of business.
Every game has its lifespan.
Yeah, gotta start placing bets on how long Warframe's gonna last. They're still doing pretty okay.
No, there are too many weebs and furries for that to get killed off anytime.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Stop with the weeb shit.
I mean, is he wrong though?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, so that's Tencent for you, buying up more games.
That makes sense.
Speaking of multiplayer online games that are insanely popular for whatever reason, Counter-Strike pros agreed to safety protocols so that they can return to LAN competition. This is the first time reading of this article.
So I put this one on, and this was, one of those that I saw, and I was like, okay, I'm into sports. I like football. I like baseball, mainly baseball. I am happy to see that that it's not just, my my sports that I generally watch that are being affected, but like, while yes, video games can be played from a remote location to enact all safety protocols for COVID-19, it's good that these teams and the Pro Players Association have announced and agreed to proper safety protocols so that they can get back to being inside of an arena to be able to play, because those type of things, they bring in boatloads of cash. And while yes, they won't be able to have people there in person yet, adopting the safety protocols is the first step.
Anything that popularizes wearing a mask, I'm generally for.
Oh yeah, same here.
But yeah, it does look like that's what the Pro Players Association is doing, is they're trying to agree to a set of standards about travel, about personal protective gear in the arena when players are in the same room, and what was the other thing? Creating controlled environments when players are in the arena and off the arena.
Mhm.
So all of these protocols are to be updated on an ongoing basis as the situation changes, depending on the country in which the event takes place. So they're trying to create a safe environment for pro players to operate within, which is a good thing. And as Zero said, these events are a giant orgy of advertisements, which do bring in a lot of money.
What I find most interesting, I mean, this isn't the first esport to come back. And, we've seen this play out with professional sports, as Zero was saying. A big moneymaker is ticket sales. Like, when they have these big esports events, they sell out coliseums, they sell out stadiums, and for not just like for a weekend or a day, for like a week straight, hundreds of thousands of ticket sales, and that rakes in millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. So I am curious to see what their plan is for doing this, because they're obviously not going to be doing, like, we keep using the word arena in this discussion. They're not going to be doing these in arenas if there's no fans. This seems to be more about like LAN competition, which would be in a studio and broadcast over the internet, because even if you get an agreement with the players on safety protocols and whatnot, you're still not going to be able to pack an auditorium or a stadium or whatever to bring in all that sweet cash. So they're not going to be renting out an arena if they can't fill the arena. So we're probably going to be seeing these type of events happening in studios, and broadcast over Twitch.
Absolutely, and that's definitely one way to do it. The other way to do it, and I hate to mention it because I cannot stand Vince McMahon, but the board had a brilliant idea when they came up with the quote WWE Thunderdome. It is, I mean, if you haven't seen it, it is just it's pretty awesome. Instead of having fans physically there, you literally, if you sign up on the WWE website, you get an email 2 times a week saying, hey, do you want to be part of Raw or do you want to be part of SmackDown? And they have, there are X number of spots and they rotate people out throughout the entire night. Like if it's a 3-hour show, I think they rotate every half hour. And it's just new people in the crowd throughout the entire night. And it's all on video screens. It's really neat the way that, the WWE adapted to that. Now, are they making money from that? No, because they don't charge the people to come in the door. But having people there where the talent can hear them cheering is one step, because there were, after I think it was WrestleMania last year, and it was just dead silent. There was no crowd at all. They didn't have any of these screens or anything set up. The talent said that is half of the reason why we do this, is to hear that pop. And without the pop, they were, the wrestlers were, the performers were losing interest in performing. So they came up with this idea, and it works. So, maybe that's a way to go about it. Or like Omega said, streaming it on Twitch is another way.
Well, UFC just had their first event with a crowd at it. Well, they had a week of events, I should say. They had 3 fights in Abu Dhabi over the last week, which finished with the first pay-per-view of the year, which was massive. Conor McGregor's first fight in almost a year, and they, in the stadium, the arena, they had socially distanced seating. Like they only had one person sitting every 3 seats, and you do something like that. But still, you got to wonder how financially viable will it be to rent out a whole auditorium and sell a third of the seats. But also these auditoriums are probably dying for cash too, so they might be willing to rent it out for cheaper, knowing that's the situation. So who knows?
Yeah.
But regardless of what's going to happen, it is cool to see esports coming back. And I know that, like we said, there have been a lot of remote esports tournaments and stuff, but those aren't quite as serious. Those aren't taken as seriously by the gamers or by the fans. So it is nice to see esports sort of heading back towards some sense of normalcy, and hopefully it'll go great, and it'll give a bit of a model for moving forward, getting back to esports as normal.
I will bring back Warframe into this conversation in that Layer Technologies has put out its 2020 interim reports, and this one, or StreetInsider.com has published it. And according to Layer Technologies, TennoCon 2020 was entirely virtual. It happened in the middle of COVID, and DE decided to make an entirely virtual TennoCon. The number of concurrent Warframe users and viewers of TennoCon reached a record high in 2020. There were more people watching and attending virtually TennoCon than ever before, and there are segments of TennoCon which are free to watch, which are streamed on Twitch for anyone. The rest of the events, however, are locked behind a TennoCon digital ticket. So if the Pro Players Association wanted to do something similar like that and have an exclusive pass for people instead of selling out arena tickets like we've been talking about, then there is potential that they would reach a larger audience, because not everyone could afford a plane ticket to go there to spend time in an arena, as opposed to people paying $40 for a ticket and being able to watch the entire event from their own home. So that does have an advantage to it.
Well, and Blizzard's doing the same thing with
Blizzard also does the same. Yeah, BlizzCon with their digital tickets.
Yeah, BlizzConline this year is 100% free. Everything that every facet of BlizzConline is going to be absolutely available to the public.
Well, that's the opposite of what I was talking about with TennoCon, but yeah,
well,
there are definitely examples where people have been doing this thing for free.
Well, yeah, no,
not to say the Pro Players Association isn't going to make it free. I don't know, but anyway.
Well,
and that's and then we get on to this, which is something that I've been following for completely different reasons. But Take-Two, publisher of GTA and Red Dead, is taking legal action against GTA cheat makers, and they got one this week. What was it called? Luna. There's a online cheat distributor that was called Luna that allowed you to enter God mode or semi-God mode in GTA Online and instantly kill players, spawn all manner of crap to make people's maps crash, or just crash the server generally with a whole bunch of spam. And Luna cheats the website this week just totally went down, has been replaced by a 50-word statement apologizing to the GTA Online community and saying that they are donating all of their profits to a charity of Take-Two's choice. So this is not the first time that Take-Two has gone after people. I've seen everything from copyright infringement suits, going after modded plays or cheats, to terms of service violations. So that seems to be how Take-Two is striking at these things, but they are almost exclusively striking at cheats and mod makers who are charging money for access to the services. I think that makes it a little easier for them.
I
But
know
yeah,
it makes me feel better.
It's always nice that there's one less cheat available for GTA Online, because I am still of the opinion that it's a complete goddamn mess.
Listen, though, we talked about this, like, was it just last week or the week before? About, companies legally, like, going after cheat makers legally. I'm kind of the opinion that, like, fix your game.
Right.
Fix your fucking game. Make it so that the hackers get caught. Make it so that the cheaters get caught. Because if they're only going after people who are charging money for it, and not, like, that's going to be, sure, going to take care of some stuff, but, like, there's still going to be people out there with other stuff and other hacks. And, they knocked down one cheat engine, but there are many others. And I don't doubt that they'll try going after them as well. And they'll probably succeed on a few of them too, but, like, fix your game.
And yeah, what we were saying, I think it was 2 weeks ago, is that whatever makes them more money or costs them the least money is what they will pursue. In this case, I can't say that they went after Luna because they wanted the or the profits that Luna had been taking in for charging people access to this cheat, because according to Luna, they're donating it to charity. I don't know how true that is either, but they said it, so...
Well, I think that's part of the legal agreement that they made with Rockstar,
yeah.
Take-Two, I should say. I think it was like, yeah, you're gonna take this down and you're going to, bury it, and you're gonna donate whatever money you have, and that is just PR on Take-Two's point.
Sure.
Like, they would look shitty if they're like, and you're gonna give us all the money that you made. That this makes them look good, and this is going to make people say, oh, that's so nice of them, rather than assholes like me who are like, fix your fucking game instead of going after the cheat makers. How about you make their lives harder and, make them unable to do what they do by fixing your game? Because what's to stop somebody else from coming out and doing the same thing? If they don't fix the vulnerability that the Luna cheat engine was taking advantage of, then that vulnerability is still there for other people to take advantage of.
And in this article, or in the articles that have been posted, I don't see anything about Take-Two suing for damages. That would be the legalese of how they're getting money from people who sold stuff out of their bailiwick. So yeah, it does look like they are. Luna is actually donating or there's no mention that Take-Two was or profited off this at all, I guess is the point. But
Well,
yeah,
funny.
it's...
What games were we talking about a couple weeks ago? That they were. I forget which.
It was Destiny and oh god,
were these just games that
Bungie and one other company was going after cheat makers. I forget what the name of the other company was, but I know Bungie was one of them.
Yeah.
These were companies that were just going after people instead of fixing their exploits, their own exploits.
Well, yeah, whichever companies we were talking about when we talked about the issue last time. But the point that I'm getting at is, if anything, Rockstar probably does have the best argument for financial damages, because they paywall fucking every cool toy in the game behind shark cards, or monotonous hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of grinding until you get a submarine, and then it gets a lot easier. But I feel like of any game company, with the way that they monetize, and they have made the GTA economy so ridiculous, they probably have the best argument for financial compensation or reparation, I should say. But like I said, it's nice of them to make all that money go to charity instead.
Asterisk. So yeah, GTA Online publisher smacks down another cheat seller. Jesus Christ, who's the shill that wrote this for Polygon? Owen S. Good.
I was about
God
to
damn
say, aren't most of the people that write for games journalism shillers nowadays, unless they're totally independent?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Not according to them, for sure.
Yeah, video game news websites, I use the term loosely, make their money by selling advertisements from video game companies. So,
Yep.
yeah, you're not going to be too harsh on them.
But this is kind of funny. So this was not sort of styming from this. There was something that I read late last year that never made it to a podcast, where someone was developing a rather extensive Red Dead Redemption 2 mod. And this is an article taken from Torrent Freak. I'll read the summary. Take-Two Interactive developer Jonathan White. See, whenever I see the Take-Two Interactive's developer Jonathan Wyckoff, I just think whack off. Jonathan Wackoff has agreed to a permanent injunction to kill the latter's Red Dead Redemption enhancement project. Among other things, Wackoff, aka Demand Dev, hoped to bring the first edition of the video game to PC. This resulted in a copyright infringement lawsuit, which has now been terminated, provided the developer sticks to its terms. So a guy tried to develop a mod called the Red Dead Redemption Enhancement Project. And it was going to address a lot of things, graphics, mechanics, stories. It was basically a whole add-on, an entire DLC for this game. And they were, or an upgrade to the Red Dead game itself, and they were stopped by Take-Two because they were using bits of code from Red Dead Redemption 2 in their mod. And that just killed the prize, stopped the project dead. So the community at the time, who was following this guy, was pretty excited about what he was coming out with. Also because he wasn't going to charge any money for it, and Red Dead Take-Two rather just cried intellectual property right theft and violation of licensing agreements, and went to court with it and won. So it's not like Take-Two isn't on the ball in terms of their legal action. It's not like they don't have people watching out for these things. And as we've said a billion times, and I promise I won't say it again after now, they could just use all this power and authority to go after all the cheat makers, or they could use some of these resources to fix the problems in their games that allow these cheat makers to do their thing. Not to say that a Red Dead enhancement project is a cheat of any type. It was just something that it reminded me of, that Take-Two is obviously out there. They are obviously paying attention to these things. They do obviously have a legal department that is working on this nonstop. So they're actively choosing where to put their money. So they've got to be making money off this somehow. Somehow it's got to be cheaper to just go after cheat makers than it is to fix their own code.
Well, I mean, with all that we've seen of how difficult it appears to be to actually make a good game versus making a pretty game, it's probably easier to pay an outside law firm to do that for you than it is to get a bunch of developers and make them crunch and do all that other shit. So
oh well, poor Jonathan Wackoff. He had a good idea.
I was going to say, speaking of gobs of money.
Oh, you want to talk about Gabe?
Let's talk about Gabe.
Let's talk about Gabe Newell, the hero of all nerds and the loveliest man to ever invent Steam.
Gobs of money? You mean the giant gob who has lots of money?
I see what you did there.
There's a lot of him to love.
I have to say this, and it's just because it's bugging me. The video shows this man's feet, and they are disgusting looking. Of course, I have a phobia of feet anyway, so we're just going to scroll past that.
How the hell does that work? You wake up every morning, look down, and scream?
Yes, exactly.
At your feet specifically?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Masami gave me one earlier. I had to pass it on. By the way, fuck you, Masami.
I think we're leaving that to Kosen for later.
Heyo.
Okay. All right. So yeah, what's Gabe up to?
I mean, I'll just
You
put it
got me
this way.
curious.
I've seen bananas with a smaller diameter than Gabe Newell's big toe.
Wow. Okay.
Now I have to see this.
Yeah, if you scroll down into the interview, and you go to about 15 minutes, a little short of 15 minutes, 14:55 or so. Right now, it might be a little. Yeah, 15:07. He's got his foot up and he's got a big toe. Anyway, he did a pretty interesting half-hour interview with IGN. But
Holy shit, that's a toe.
yeah, the reason I hooked onto this article and thought it was really interesting is he talked a lot about brain-computer interface. Gabe Newell believes that brain interfaces are going to be the future, and says that we will create games that are superior to reality fairly quickly.
Is Elon Musk trying to break into the gaming industry?
I mean,
Discuss.
I don't doubt for a second that once he gets fucking Neuralink running, he's going to be looking for tons of entertainment routes.
I mean, it does sound very intriguing. I'm reminded of. I know it's closer to VR, but if you remember the Star Trek Next Generation episode, The Game, where Riker goes to Risa and that lady puts that game on his head, which brainwashes him, and then he brings it back to the Enterprise, and he starts hunting around for people to get addicted to the game, and it brainwashes them too, and then the whole Enterprise is just nonstop doing this game.
That's it's such a great episode, but the hilarious thing about it is the game in that is like
Tubes.
VR that we were experiencing in like carnivals and shit 20 years ago.
Yeah,
If
it
you've
looks
ever,
looks
done one of
awful.
those VR stands at like amusement parks or carnivals with like the giant helmet unit that you put on, and
Yep.
it looked like shit, like very obvious 2D graphics and like 2D figures in a 3D world around you. It was that, and like that took over the entire crew of the Enterprise. It was a really great episode.
So here's the thing. The reason the game was so popular on the Enterprise was because when you didn't even really have to play the game. You just watched these tubes suck up these little chips. And as soon as they did that, it released endorphins in your brain or something like that. So there's the one episode where Wesley goes onto the turbo lift and he's talking to what's her face, and there's a woman in the turbo lift playing the game, and she's just basically got permanent orgasm face. And that's what you keep on seeing these people with like permanent orgasm face on them, is because they're not actually playing the game, they're just getting this neural stimulation from it. So that's the reason apparently why the game was so popular and people didn't just say fuck this, I'm going to the holodeck.
But like that's also that's just an allegory for what video games are. Like in my opinion, that episode, the message of that episode is, and if you look at the time that it came out, that's a very anti-video game message. Like that kind of was playing along with the fears of video games and being addictive and all that shit, which are all true. Video games are designed to release a constant drip of feel-good brain chemicals. And you're talking about a game that basically plays itself. We fucking play Warframe. It's a fucking game on the planet. That game is nothing but a dopamine drip. That is all that fucking game is. It is not fun to play. It is not a challenge. It is built and designed completely to be addictive, and it works.
Yeah, it's a dopamine fueled power fantasy.
All it is it pushes you to get good so that you don't have to do things anymore. So you don't have to work to do things anymore. Like you keep grinding and grinding and grinding so that you can walk through the mission a little bit easier next time, and in a more fun and flashy, bright lights and fun sounds kind of way. And yeah,
But in its defense, just because I love playing devil's advocate, it does allow us some opportunities to exercise our imaginations and develop ways to cheese things. Every now and again, it allows us to do that. But for the most part, I agree.
well, yeah, but that's sort of exactly what I mean. Like
Right.
we are figuring out a way to not play because
Right.
doing that tickles that little dopamine drip. So like the game is figuring out how to manipulate it to the point where it just is as easy as possible. And you know, now that we're looking at a future where we can directly tap our motor cortex into controlling a game, where we don't need to rely on the clunkiness of our fingers on a keyboard or a controller to control the game, where we actually have the dexterity of our minds instead of our bodies to play with. It's going to be fucking amazing. And I don't doubt for a second that, what Gabe is saying, that you're going to be able to create games that are more fantastic and superior to reality, because like games already are more fantastic and superior to reality. Like the imaginative mindscape that you see in your mind when playing a 2D, voxel based game can be better than reality. We're already, our brains are already, as gamers, our brains are already wired to think in that way, in that immersive sense, even when what we're looking at clearly isn't. Now, once we're going to be able to tap directly into our brains and give us a full 3D VR environment to look around in, yeah, of course it's going to be superior to reality. You can't fucking fly in reality. You can't, wield crazy futuristic super guns and fight alien machines in reality. And when you tap your senses directly, if we could tap our senses directly into that, I mean, fuck yeah, it's going to be amazing.
So the next question is going to be, how do you tapping your senses into it and everything like that? Okay, sure, I'm with you there. Do you get a full bodysuit? If you have a full bodysuit, how do you manage motion? Do we move towards the Steven Spielberg version of Ready Player One, where people have the motion pads that they run around on, or do we go like the modern Assassin's Creed movie route, where there's just a giant fucking arm that plugs into your back and lets you fly and jump, outrageously and shit like that? Or do we just remain as we are and keep on putting on weight and sitting in chairs, and we're just like, I want to go over there, and all of a sudden you go over there?
That one.
Yeah, that one.
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Yep.
I was gonna go with the third option, where basically it's all mental control. Now, you want to know what industry I know that's gonna benefit from this the most, though?
Porn.
Good call. Porn industry is what's gonna benefit for this. I mean, like, think about it this way. Think about, like, you want to experience what it's like banging this one particular porn star and how hot it is. And they basically record this semi-sense brain dance sort of kind of scene where there's this porn star that's going at it with this other porn star, and then you get to basically download it into your brain, and then you experience it from the perspective of the porn star that's giving it to the other porn star.
Oh my
Dude,
god.
they're gonna...
It's Demolition Man.
Keep going. I'm almost there.
The first third-party aftermarket accessory is gonna be a dick attachment. It's gonna be this technology is gonna come out, and then within a week, some company's gonna announce they're working on it, and then there's gonna be a bunch of companies who are gonna like come out with different versions of like basically dick sucking devices that tap into the game, and there you go.
Got devices like that. Before VR porn was even a thing, there were online services that allowed you to connect with random people, sort of like Chatterbait, or no, not Chatterbait. What's the other one where you used to be randomly paired up with someone to talk to?
Omegle.
Omegle.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it was, you could stimulate the partner on the other side of your screen if they were wearing the proper attachment. And
Oh
it
no,
was
that's
a novel.
Chatterbait.
A Chatterbait. Okay.
Yeah, the name of the device is called the Love Sense. I know
Thank
exactly
you
what
for
you're talking
knowing
about.
what I'm talking about,
Well,
Kosen.
that's just like if you donate coins, you can
Yeah,
tell the vibrator to vibrate in a certain way or something like that. That's like if you donate a certain amount of coins, there's like an app, just like Twitch streamers have apps that can connect donations to doing any sort of thing. This company just figured out a way to make a donation, make a dildo vibrate.
Like a Sibian that responds to coins, digital coins.
That's exactly what it is. So,
So not exactly what I'm talking about, but similar to what I'm talking about. And actually,
Yeah.
what I wanted to feed into this was, okay, the technology's on the way. Fine, we already have VR porn now. Fine, great, good. I don't actually have a VR headset, but maybe I should look into one. The problem with the VR market so far in terms of porn, and it is important because porn does determine the popular technology. This is a historical pattern. The problem so far with porn is engaging, or VR porn is engaging the female audience. It's super popular with men, but the record or the technology statistics have shown that women do not like VR porn because basically things are happening at them and they don't really have an option or anything. You have a giant penis coming at your face. It's like, okay, what do I do besides take off the headset and stop? Not so much of a problem for men. We see a penis coming at us, we're just like, oh yeah, time to suck some dick. Hell yeah. So engaging the female audience is going to be the next thing and maybe direct brain stimulation would work this way so that you could have an experience that you are more in control of.
Yes.
So porn through this kind of BCI, as it's called, is definitely going to be a thing, probably the first really popular thing. And I can't wait.
Imagine this though. Like, what if you could take the BCI and basically record this particular kind of experience, and I'm ripping this directly off of Cyberpunk 2077. You have two guys that are outside of a little shop, and they basically are talking about how they're going to rob the shop at gunpoint. The one guy goes in there all hopped up on adrenaline. He's got the gun aimed at the cashier, demanding money and all this other kind of shit, threatening to blow his brains out. He's hyped up on adrenaline. And then he walks out of the store, and right before he walks out of the store, gets a bullet busted right into his brain, and it's all fucking recorded from his particular perspective. And then imagine taking that sensory output, all of that bullshit, and then putting that out onto the market for other people to consume as entertainment.
That's not even cyberpunk. Yeah, have you ever seen a movie? Yeah, you ever seen a movie? 1995. It's called Strange Days.
I don't think I've ever heard that one.
Okay, it's Ralph Fiennes, of all people, in a sci-fi movie. Ralph Fiennes and I think Angela Bassett.
Okay.
And it's all about Ralph Fiennes is an investigator or a cop or something. It's been a while since I saw the movie. Who is looking for he's looking for his girlfriend basically, but it takes him to this underground market where people do exactly that. They have these brain implants that are recording constantly, and they record experiences. They record death, like there's snuff, like what you're talking about. They record sex, is of course very popular. They record all these experiences that they have, and you can sell them to other people who want to experience those things without necessarily the physical danger. So yeah, this is a sci-fi concept that goes back.
Yeah, it's a long-lived trope in sci-fi. Like the Alastair Reynolds in his, if you like epic space operas, I highly recommend you check out the Revelation Space series, because it's fucking amazing, deep, hard sci-fi space opera shit. And there's like an entire, like it goes real deep into the whole concept of selling and accessing memories and experiences and things like that. And yeah, there's the whole white market of like legal fun stuff, like, hey, I'm on a roller coaster, hey, I'm flying and having fun. And then there's like the black market of snuff and
how would
sex acts and,
how would you
all
like
of the horrible shit. So
how would you like to murder your boss, like stuff like that?
Well, it's not even that. It's like, how would you like to relive the experience of murdering someone? How would
Yeah,
you like to
exactly.
relive the experience of doing horrible, horrible things to people that actually happen? And it's not like you're a viewer in it. It's you are experiencing it. You are actually doing it, as far as you can tell. Like, yeah. So that's definitely been a thing for a long time. And you look at history, sci-fi has predicted pretty much every technological innovation of the 20th century and 21st century so far. So you can look at a lot of that and say, yeah, that's going to happen.
It's like Isaac Asimov sitting down for an interview in the 1960s, basically saying, "Yeah, someday YouTube is going to be a thing," and then 50 years later, YouTube was a thing.
Look at Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. All of the things that he put into this that became real. I mean, look at Star Trek. All the things in Star
Trek,
Trek that they
cell
came up
phones.
with that became real.
Star Trek
Tablets.
was the ones who invented laptop computers, cell phones, tablets, all from Star Trek.
I mean, inventors look at sci-fi and say, "Yeah, I could figure that out."
So I
Like,
love
it takes the creative artist to come up with the ideas that then the experts, the technological experts, can then figure out how to make real.
So what I love is that we're demonstrating the path that sci-fi has taken for the past 100 years or so, in that BCI is meant for gaming and all, or a surreal experience for gamers, and it's also been used or Gabe has said that it can be um, incorporated into VR headsets as they are, and it can actually help people with vertigo. It can actually fend off vertigo. It can make it so that people who would be otherwise unable to play a video game can play a video game. Direct brain stimulation means that you don't necessarily need to use your hands and feet. Like, you could play a racing game and be a quadriplegic. It could do all this fantastic stuff, and we start talking about porn and also the most wretched, horrible stuff that you could possibly use this technology for, and we're just like, that's what it's going to be used for.
Well,
And the sad thing is, we're probably right.
Well, every technology that's been invented has been also used for porn and horrible things.
Teflon.
I mean, look at social media. You look at all of the digital innovations. Like, social media is a great thing that's also used for a lot of porn and horrible things. And it's just the way it works. Like, that's just human nature. We find a new technology, and the worst of us find ways to use it for the things that cater to the worst of us. And the rest of the people pretends it doesn't exist or tries to stop it from existing. And that's the battle we will always fight.
So there you have it, folks. Brain control interfaces will create games superior to reality fairly quickly. Gabe Newell speaks out, and we're really looking forward to the porn.
Yep.
Strange Days, on the other hand, good movie, pretty good movie, aged pretty well considering it's a 1995 horror, sci-fi horror crime mystery.
Cool. Noted. So what's next on the agenda?
Actabliz.
Oh, god damn it. Why do we have to talk about them?
Because they're currently valued at $72 billion.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, apparently they have microtransactions and COVID to thank for that.
COVID has been great for the gaming industry. Like,
this is true.
Even you've got non-gamers who have become gamers, casual gamers have become hardcore gamers. It's the only avenue for interaction for anybody who's taking the quarantine fucking seriously. And the gaming industry's been doing great. And it's honestly not a surprise. Like, yeah, Blizzard is or ActiBliz, I should say, is doing really well right now. But so are a lot of other companies. And this pandemic has just been huge business for gaming.
Keep trying to talk my wife into letting me quit my day job so that I could just focus on video games all the time, and she's just not having it, and I don't know why. Nothing? Really? Okay.
No,
Well,
go ahead.
there was no real response because you presented it as a joke, but we all just kind of were like, yeah, that'd be nice. And just kind of had that moment of agreement.
It's like when Masami insults my dick size. It's like, yeah, we know.
Masami,
I
he's
mean,
not.
I didn't think I was telling you anything you didn't already know, so I was just
Yeah.
reminding you.
Stop lobbing factual statements at me as if they're insults.
Yeah, in the last quarter, the last financial quarter, ActiBliz earned $1.2 billion from microtransactions alone, mostly from Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Warzone. And the success of those two games saw the Call of Duty player base on PC increase tenfold last year. So, obviously, ActiBliz scored real big on some very monetizable games, which is a big part of why their valuation is now so huge. But just in general, COVID has been amazing for the games industry.
I just wish there was a way that we could see the actual breakdown. Which games of theirs are making what amount of money to get to that 72?
Honestly, if you went digging for it, you could probably find it because these are public companies and all that shit is published.
Yeah, I can tell you pretty assuredly one of those games is not Diablo.
Well, I was thinking more WoW because being as how I'm a WoW player,
Probably.
just looking at the amount of gold that is floating around the the economy within the game, it people have got to be buying those WoW tokens like crazy.
Well, what other games does Blizzard offer that are subscription based? WoW's it, isn't it?
Yes.
That'd be what I'd like to see is of the total income from WoW, what is the split between microtransactions versus just the monthly subscriptions on a massive player base?
Right. I believe there are microtransactions in Hearthstone, and certainly in what I hear is the Storm. But the other game, there are no microtransactions in Diablo. There are no microtransactions in StarCraft. There are no microtransactions. Oh, there are microtransactions in Overwatch. So yeah, as Omega said, I'd be interested to see the split because I'm pretty sure that WoW is the majority of that, and the rest of them are just they're up. I would imagine that they're up, but they're not significant next to WoW.
I mean, no, that $1.2 billion in the last quarter in microtransactions was more than half the company's quarterly revenue for that quarter. So a majority of the company's income or revenue was from that. Their total revenue for that quarter was 1.95, and the 1.2 was the microtransactions, mostly from the two Call of Duty games.
Yeah, I believe it.
It says apparently the only game beating Call of Duty over that time period in monthly active users was Candy Crush, which is also owned by ActiBliz, for the record.
Huh. Interesting.
So yeah, ActiBliz apparently had a great 2020.
Okay, so I just was flipping around on another page, just kind of trying because I was personally interested. This article was from 2 years ago, and this is the closest thing I could find. At the time, the top 5 was Skylanders at over $1 billion a year. Overwatch at $1.4 billion a year. Warcraft at over $1 billion a year. Candy Crush and then Call of Duty, but Call of Duty is bringing in the most at $4+ billion a year. But this states that subscription income for World of Warcraft only makes up 25% of that revenue.
Good lord.
Wow.
So it says that you're
Right.
paying for each update that's released. You pay for the initial game monthly subscription and any major patch update that comes out. So like an expansion, each expansion. So they're factoring all of that in. But I still would like to see like current year figures.
Hmm.
Jeez, everybody making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Looking through their third quarter statements right now. I'll let you know when I find anything interesting.
Skylanders is another game that Activision does put out and publish. Doesn't get a lot of attention from us because it is primarily geared towards kids, but it is kind of a huge market. It is advertised as a child-friendly game, or fun for the whole family. And it is. I'm not even sure how to describe it. It's kind of like Animal Crossing, but set in a more of a Blizzard-esque Warcraft fantasy realm, where you just, mindless mining, resource gathering, and stuff like that. It's not billed as a terrible game. Apparently, it's got some pretty good reviews, and it doesn't have an entirely toxic community.
Well, that's good to know.
All right, let's see. So here's a breakdown of their third quarter 2020. Activision Games brought in $773 million at a 45% margin, operating margin. Mainly, revenue grew 270% year over year, driven by Modern Warfare and Warzone. In addition to Call of Duty Mobile and Tony Hawk. Let's see. Blizzard brought in $411 million. 4% growth, driven by strong quarterly growth of WoW. And then King, which makes Candy Crush, brought in $563 million, mainly from in-app purchases, and that's where that looks to be. This breakdown doesn't get specifically into where each game's money is coming from, though. It just breaks it down by a company underneath the umbrella.
I actually do want to skip over to these articles just because it has to do with Blizzard, not ActiBliz, but Blizzard. There is reportedly a Diablo 2 remaster in the works with the help of a company called Vicarious Visions. So that might... I don't know how I feel about games getting remade. It's nice when it happens. Diablo 2 was definitely a great game when I played it. I might check out a remaster, but honestly, I don't want the gaming industry to turn into the movie industry. And the movie industry for the past 2 decades has basically been like, okay, what already exists? What can we update? What can we remake? Move on to the next thing. It's always the best thing to do is just go on to the next gag. But Diablo 2 Remaster is coming out.
Yeah, we were just talking over past weeks about how cool it would be if we could get refreshed modern versions of classic games. So
I'll make an exception for GoldenEye. I won't say that it's a bad idea to remaster GoldenEye.
Well, listen, these massive video game companies have a whole bunch of studios under their umbrella. As long as they're not taking development away from Diablo 4, fuck it. Put a team on remastering Diablo 2. You know, that's so for me it's going to be like, are companies abandoning making new games just to rehash old content? Then yeah, just like the movie industry, fuck that. That's shitty. But if
as long as they're pumping out
do
new
it
content,
concurrently,
yeah, as long as they're pumping out
make
new
it
content and they do this on the side.
I'm fine with that. I mean, personally myself, I like Diablo 2, but I enjoyed Diablo 1 actually a lot better.
Heresy.
I'm more looking at it as, okay, Vicarious Visions, that name sounded really familiar when I saw this article.
Yeah.
I was sitting there and I was like, why do I know that name and why is it ringing like and raising so many red flags? They worked with Bungie on Destiny 2.
That's why I recognize the
They
name.
they were part of Destiny 2's development cycle. They were part of Destiny 2's release development cycle. After the game launched, Bungie said, and then when Bungie broke away from Activision, they went, they said, okay, we're going to handle everything on our own, bye, and cut Vicarious Visions loose right after the Activision split. So I knew that name. I knew that name sounded familiar when I saw the article.
They did indeed work on Destiny 2. They've also recently remade Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2.
F&A.
Interesting.
Hey, I grew up on those games. Those games were my shit back in the day.
Oh, my little brother loved that game.
They also did Marvel Ultimate Alliance and Ultimate Alliance 2.
They did. They also had. They've got some expansion packs for. I was just talking about Skylanders. They did some expansion packs for that, and they did a version of Guitar Hero, Warriors of Rock.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. I'm looking through these a much more detailed investor report, and a vast majority of the money for ActiBliz, and I'm sure it's going to be similar across the industry because just the trend is. It can't be unique to this company. There's far more money coming in for console and mobile than PC.
Huh. Well, yeah, that's unfortunate and also probably really true.
Well, I mean, yeah, that kind of answers the question as to why they fucking gave us Diablo Immortal instead of something else.
Well, it confirms my speculation when that came out is that Activision was doing nothing but trying to please the Chinese market. So, if anything, this just sort of furthers that paranoid theory, which might not be a theory. Who knows? But the mobile market in China is enormous.
Well, net revenues by geographical region, the Americas are far and away more than the rest of the world combined.
Sorry, I missed the first part of that.
This is breaking down net revenues by geographic region.
Gotcha. Okay.
For ActiBliz, the totals for the Americas, total amount for the Americas is more than the rest of the world combined.
Oh,
See,
wow.
I understand the mobile market in China being huge because not everybody can afford a good PC or to, put together their own custom PC, but everybody has a phone. I am wondering now why the mobile market might be taking... This is probably jumping to a conclusion. I don't know it for sure. I'm just saying if the mobile market in America is taking precedence over the other gaming platforms, why? And is this anything to do with the article that we saw probably 3 or 4 weeks ago? It was probably last year, where Google is opening up entire services where you could play games on their computers and they would just stream the visuals to you. Is this the whole thing now? Is this going to be the whole gag for the gaming community? You don't actually have to own a PC anymore. You just need a phone to play PC games.
God, I hope that actually is not a thing.
Well, it might be a thing. It might be a good thing in terms of getting games out there. Well, it would be a good thing in terms of making a lot more money for companies putting out games. Maybe not for people. Who knows, though? Who can say such things?
The moment that they strip the ability for us to actually own the games and basically be able to take them away on a whim because of whatever, I ain't gonna have any of that shit. And it's one of the main reasons why I kind of am always leery of buying digital games, because just like I don't actually own a physical copy of this game and I don't like it.
Yeah, I hate to break this to you, but do you use Steam at all?
I
Because
do
if
a
Steam
lot.
if Steam takes your account away, those games are gone.
Well, even having a physical copy isn't enough anymore to guarantee you can still play a game because a vast majority of games nowadays rely on online servers, and there comes a day in every game's lifespan where that company says, "Hey guys, we're shutting down the servers."
Yeah, eventually Diablo 3, or actually, I don't know how they're going to do that with Diablo 3, because when they did that with Diablo 2, people just made their own servers. That's how it's continued to go to this day. So maybe Blizzard will be cool about that and be like, hey, here's how to make a Diablo 3 server.
Sure, I mean that'll happen, but then everyone you play with is going to be cheating.
Yep.
You know, it's not going to be the same experience. And
hey, we can bring back CM Wiz.
there's still people out there running Diablo 2 servers for people who want to play online and in that sort of environment, but you know, the audience is minuscule and statistically insignificant. So yeah, that'll always happen, and I've seen that with plenty of games where the servers get shut down and people figure out how to keep it running, but only the most diehard of diehard are actually going to keep doing that. When you're at a point in the game's lifespan where only the most diehard are still playing at all, and then only a fraction of those people are still going to go through the work to figure out how to actually keep playing it on unofficial servers.
StarCraft
Does
2.
anybody? Yeah, does anybody know if Club Penguin ever got like private fan servers?
I believe they did.
Oh shit! There's an article about this. Club Penguin Online, one of the largest Club Penguin fan servers, got shut down after Walt Disney issued a DMCA takedown notice. Disney owns the rights to Club Penguin, and they don't want people having fan services or fan servers.
Oh my god, that's just terrible.
What a bunch of cucks!
Well,
So
I'm seeing one where Disney forces explicit Club Penguin clones offline.
Oh shit! All right, yeah. There's a lot of news about this. Apparently, Jesus.
Yeah.
I actually watch.
A fan-run Club Penguin Online that visits to it surged during coronavirus, more than 1 million new players, but racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, and sexual messages flowed freely on the unauthorized platform. So Disney forced them to close.
Ooh, yeah, I see that.
I will say, actually,
Explicit messages and interactions. Ooh.
I watch a show on YouTube, Death of a Game, and they go through like these different games, and they went through Club Penguin, and that one legitimately made me laugh because they started off with Toontown, the old game Toontown, and that's Toontown evolved, or Toontown gave way to Club Penguin, and then Club Penguin just took off, and then it just one day just died. Like Disney got a hold of it and it just died. So it's a good series to watch if you ever get a chance and you've got nothing better to do or just want to have, background noise. It's actually quite interesting to watch.
This is interesting. I know Toontown came out in 2003, so I just wanted to quickly Google when a Goofy movie came out in 1995, so they're 8 years apart. I always thought it was funny that in the middle of the 1990s, Disney was just like, okay, you know what? Mickey Mouse has had his run. Donald Duck is fine, but nobody pays attention to that anymore. And, Scrooge and his nephews are basically done. It's now Goofy's time to shine. And Goofy movie came out. A couple of shows came out. A musical came out. Goofy on Ice. And then nothing. Then I took a look at the cover of Toontown. It's like, badass Goofy. All right. What's the appeal there?
I don't know, but we all know that Goofy fucks. Yuck.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, I mean, he does.
Kosen, I believe after that joke, you may be sleeping on the couch tonight.
Yeah, Goofy does. Yeah, according to the Goofy movie, Kosen is right. I forgot his name, but Goofy's adolescent son is named Max.
Yep.
Forgot that name.
That movie, honestly, is probably one of my favorite Disney films.
Did they ever address what happened to Max's mom, Goofy's lover?
There is fan lore, fan canon out there that she passed away from some unknown disease, unknown virus or something like that. There's like this entire thing that was built around her death.
Goofy gave her AIDS. Got it.
Oof.
What? Goofy's an AIDS carrier. He's like, what's that guy's name? Magic Johnson. He's not affected by it. He just carries it. This is a thing that happens in the Disney universe.
Yeah.
It's official.
Oh. Oh, my heart hurts now.
So that's enough of vicarious visions. Anyway, I skipped over an article that we're probably going to have a laugh at, and that's the Newegg raffle. Earlier this week, Newegg held a raffle where the prize for winning the raffle was being able to pay full price for some PC parts.
Are they hard
So-
to find
What?
PC parts?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. And we can probably go into how bots are snatching up all these NVIDIA RTX cards and Ryzen CPUs and everything like that so that they can resell them. But the scarcity of these products led Newegg to believe it was a good idea to have a raffle where if you won and you could afford buying these things, you could have them. But if you won and you couldn't afford buying it, I'd assume they just pass it down to the next lucky winner.
I guess. This
This
just
is-
sounds so dumb.
This is
Well,
why I
no,
don't.
this is just a symptom of what we've been talking about a lot of just how bad the scarcity is right now of these new of new computer components, with all of them getting bought up en masse by scalpers and botters and shit, and like the fact that this is what a legitimate company has been reduced to. Honestly, in some ways, it's the fairest way to do it, because if Newegg gets a box of 10 of them and they put them up there, and then one botter who's got a bot just looking at that listing, waiting to scrape all the purchases as soon as it updates to say it's available, at least this way, people are getting a chance to actually get their hands on it, and it's controlling it from being all bought out by one person or one botter. So while it's on the surface, it's kind of silly and it feels shitty, at least they're doing something to keep
True
them
enough.
from getting just scooped up by an asshole who's just going to relist them for 3 times the cost. It's funny to think that you got to enter a raffle and the prize is the chance to buy something at full price, but I mean,
I mean, that is valid, and it's definitely very shitty.
Yeah, I'm just going to stick with that shitty.
I'm on the side that it's shitty that Newegg has been reduced to this position by the, as Doc, you've pointed out before, the artificial scarcity of these components. Like, why the fuck is AMD not out there pressing the die and making 1 billion more of these chips? Why is NVIDIA not out there sending boxes and boxes of these chips out to MSI and Asus and all the other fucking card manufacturers and getting them out there?
It's a good question.
Money. Yeah, it's all money. But this was a thing that happened, and Newegg was actually briefly on Reddit doing a big countdown to the raffle, but they took that off after people started saying, "What the fuck is this?" So now all that exists is a lovely screenshot.
Of course.
But yeah. Online tech retailer Newegg briefly ran a CPU and GPU raffle yesterday that offered a small chance for lucky winners to pay full price and then some on today's most in-demand tech, including the AMD Ryzen 5000 CPUs and NVIDIA RTX 3080 graphics cards. So yeah, that's where we are. The subtitle to this article is accurate too. These are dire times indeed. In slightly more positive news that got Zero slightly aroused before the podcast, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game might be in development without EA or BioWare involvement.
Thank God. I hope it's true.
And
Take it away, Zero.
well, and the Doc and I talked about this. These games have withstood the test of time. They are excellent games, no matter how many times I go back through and play. I always love the gameplay. It was super fun back when I first played it on the original Xbox, and it is just as fun now when I'm playing it on the PC. It is, there is just no way that these games would not be fun. Now, what they are attempting to do is they want to make this new Knights of the Old Republic game more canon based to the movies. But based off of everything in the lore that is built around the games anyway, they could easily incorporate the original Knights of the Old Republic games, including the MMO, because they are set 400 to 500 years pre Phantom Menace, and it's it's one of those things where they can incorporate that. They don't need to change anything. For the love of God, if you ever happen to run across this podcast, whoever is developing this game, because we know you listen to the Church of Chonkwij podcast.
Everybody does.
Obviously.
#1 gaming podcast.
Amen. Do not change a thing. Continue the story that was left after Knights of the Old Republic 2. Just
not gonna happen.
Don't mess it up. God, don't mess it up.
They'll make a new one.
They're not interested in you or I or any of us who played the old KOTOR games. They're interested in the massive new audience that has been brought into Disney by the new movies and the cartoons and all the series that are now getting churned out on Disney Plus. Disney they wiped out the old canon, and they are making everything fit new canon or write new canon.
So basically what we're going to see is the Old Republic is now whatever happened, before Luke Skywalker was born. So the Old Republic is now the Republic that, was right in power right before Phantom Menace or whatever the first one was.
Yeah, it's called the High Republic. That's the new series that they're currently doing. There you go. Right now.
So the High Republic has become the Old Republic, and basically what we're going to see here is a game where you are gallivanting through the universe trying to locate this mysterious Sith Lord who is cultivating a brand new apprentice, and you're going to discover that the apprentice is Jar Jar Binks, and Jar Jar Binks is actually the Dark Lord of the Sith. As everyone has conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. Everybody knows it. Everybody has said this. Since the first prequel movies came out, Jar Jar Binks is a Sith. Look at the evidence, people. It's a real thing. He's a fucking Sith. He's the one who hands power to Palpatine. He's the one who causes all the mistakes to happen in the first movie so that Annie has a malfunction on his pod racer, or the Jedi get caught at the end. He even fudges the battle that's used as a distraction so that the Jedi can save the day at the end of the movie. He fucks it all up. He's constantly fucking it up, and it's always in favor of the Sith. Jar Jar Binks is a Sith.
My God.
It's one of my favorite fan theories about Star Wars.
I love that theory so goddamn much.
There's a reason it's stood the test of time. It's hard to argue against.
So that's what the new KOTOR game will be about, Zero.
Well, unfortunately, and I'm going to call it now, what the new KOTOR game is really going to be about is for $5.99 you can buy a double-bladed lightsaber, and for $3.99 you can play as Rey or Kylo, or it's going to be chock full of fucking microtransactions.
Shut up and take my money.
You just
so many microtransactions.
Omega.
You'll be able to buy force power-ups, and you're going to be able to buy like upgraded blasters, and everything is going to be monetized.
I want to be able to play as Rey so I can get the Slave Leia suit and put it on Rey.
That's fair, I guess.
Full fucking stop before Kosen said that's fair.
That is awesome.
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, you guys are right. Inevitably, whoever is designing this game is going to fuck it up royally, and it's going to destroy my childhood, much like everything else that has been remade.
But
Um,
hey, those old KOTOR games, they're not going anywhere.
heck
We
no,
can
they're
play them
not.
again and again.
Heck no, they're not, and I am
They have
glad for that.
graphic updates too. Go into Nexus Mods, grab yourself some graphics updates. Those games look real pretty in 4K.
Ooh, yeah, and I just got myself a new monitor. Ooh,
It's good
I
shit.
might have
Solid
to check
voice
that
acting.
out.
Oh, it's
Krea's the
it's very
shit.
good.
I will have to agree with that.
And the other part about that, who knows? Maybe they could take the KOTOR franchise in a whole different direction, and it could be absolutely spectacular. It could be like Mass Effect, like the old days of Mass Effect, where it was like just mind stunning and huge and all the rest of that. It could be brilliant, but it's probably
yeah.
not. It's probably going to be garbage. Moving on. New Dungeons and Dragons games are on the horizon, led by BG3 and Dark Alliance. I cannot speak about this. Somebody who knows more about D&D than I do, which is basically the whole room.
Yeah, there's a new generation of D&D games that are going to be coming out. The article mainly goes into just the explosion of popularity and whatnot. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is now in early access on PC.
Yeah.
There's the new, what's it called? Dark Alliance is in the works, which is heavily based on the D&D novels that have been written over the years. Yeah, so Wizards of the Coast is paying attention to what gamers want, and that's to bring back some of these old properties and some new ones, and bring D&D based gaming into the latest generation.
It looks like here back in late 2019, Hasbro announced that there would be 7 to 8 new Dungeons and Dragons video game properties coming in the near future. Obviously, one of them being the new Baldur's Gate 3 game that just recently came out. And then, of course, there's Dark Alliances. And it looks like that they're kind of trying to do some mix between Diablo and Divinity Original Sin for this. And it looks like that Dark Alliances relies heavily on the huge influence of writer R.A. Salvatore and his protagonist Dritz Durin of the Sword Coast. Oh, that's interesting. Did you know that R.A. Salvatore wrote was involved in some of the fight scenes for the Phantom Menace, mostly the lightsaber combat?
Did not.
Did not know that.
But yeah, no, that's interesting. I don't know how it's gonna work out. I've always been kind of sketchy when it comes to D&D games that are done on the computer. I hope it's done well. I mean, Hasbro's got a pretty big checkbook, so I'm sure they can hire some decent studios to work on that.
And they've announced there are going to be 7 to 8 new games coming out in the near future. So 2 of them are known, with Dark Alliance and Baldur's Gate 3. And there's, of course, a lot of fan speculation surrounding what's left. I mean, you've had a lot of popular seafaring titles recently, so there's definitely a lot of stuff you could do in the D&D world from that. Ghost of Saltmarsh, there's the Moonshae Isles, there's a lot of stuff in D&D lore and canon around that. The old Neverwinter games, those could easily be turned into MMOs.
Oh yeah, they're very good.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see for fans of tabletop gaming, fans of D&D and the lore, because and that's really what it is for me. Is like the D&D canon, the lore around D&D is huge and massive, and a D&D based game doesn't have to have any mechanical similarity to the tabletop game. There's so much good lore to play with, rather than sticking to an RPG game format. So that's really what I think is going to be the most interesting, is to see what chunks of the Forgotten Realms lore or Dark Suns lore or any of the other great campaign settings that have been published over the years that are all there rife for the taking with a new generation of technology for gamers.
Nice.
And actually, correction on that. It was Ari Salvatore that did Attack of the Clones. It was Terry Brooks that did Phantom Menace.
Interesting to know.
And I thought it was that they were involved in the script. It's not so much that they were involved in the script. They wrote the novelizations of the movies.
Gotcha. Oh.
Well, that does it for the list. So that's about all. Movie recommendations, anybody?
Ooh,
If you want a good giggle, Netflix has a movie, Death to 2020. It has got a whole bunch of different actors in it, and they're all playing different roles. And Lisa Kudrow playing a conservative member of Trump media's team is probably the funniest shit I have ever seen in my life.
I know what you're talking about now because I saw that was it was a teaser trailer.
Yes,
had a bit that Lisa Kudrow did in it. Okay,
and Samuel L. Jackson. Of course, you can never go wrong with Samuel L. Jackson ever. So I watched it today. It was really funny. If you're into murder mystery type things, if you're into murder,
that was a really interesting pause, I gotta say.
He knows his audience.
The Ted Bundy
Clearly.
movies, the Ted Bundy movies on Netflix are also really good if you haven't watched those.
Oh Christ, is that the one with
Zac Efron?
Yeah, Zach. I always want to call him Zach Galifianakis. One with Zach Galifianakis playing Ted Bundy. Yeah, I've seen that. I saw that one.
That was actually it was really good. I like Jim Parsons as an actor in general, but he played the prosecuting attorney in that movie, and he stellar job.
Are we anybody gonna watch Godzilla versus King Kong?
Oh, is that finally happening?
Do I have to pay for it?
I don't know.
No, the answer is no.
Slips on his eye patch.
And like anybody who has half a brain and thinks about it for 10 seconds realizes that Godzilla would fucking massacre King Kong 100 times in a single day, because King Kong
Fire breath,
is
razor
a
claws,
giant fucking monkey. Sorry, ape.
Yeah, he'd be gorilla.
Godzilla is fucking, like you said, fire breath, fucking lasers and shit, and like can fly.
Razor claws, big ass tail, knocks down buildings, huge jaws.
Not even a fight. And just look at the size comparison. Godzilla is big enough to climb King Kong is big enough to climb buildings. Godzilla is literally as big as buildings. Like, Godzilla can run through skyscrapers. Well, King Kong can climb them. Like, it's not.
Have you seen the new trailer?
That's the whole thing. That's why the whatever Kong movies were that starred Captain Marvel, who I hate. That's why they upscaled Kong's size. They made him bigger. Everyone was speculating from like 4 years ago that they're gonna make a Kong versus Godzilla movie. How are they gonna do that for every valid point that Omega just brought up? And the solution was make Kong bigger.
But he's still just an ape, and he can still just be killed by bullets.
That way was that the no? Okay, Kong Skull Island. He never even makes it off the island, does he? He never gets to a city.
No.
Yeah. So the whole that classic King Kong story that we're all thinking of, again, thank you Disney or whoever the fuck is producing this, that canon does not exist anymore. They've got a new thing going. So who knows if Kong can be destroyed by bullets, because C4 didn't do it in the movie.
Universal, by the way.
Universal. Okay, yeah. Universal's got to get something going to compete with the big boys. Yeah,
I was about to say, Universal's been working on their, what is it, their Dark Universe, cinematic universe with
Is that-
the Mummy and all that other kind of shit.
Was that Universal? I thought that. Oh no, you're right. That is Universal. Yeah, no, that's not working out at all.
No.
I'm just
But they're still working on it.
Nobody was interested in seeing Tom Cruise star in The Mummy 2.
I will
Not when The Mummy with Brendan Fraser and
Exactly, Rachel Weisz.
thank you, God. I so hate myself for missing her name. No, nothing will ever replace that movie in my heart ever.
But
I
yeah,
agree.
The Mummy and The Mummy Returns with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz and a whole slew of other amazing actors in them. No, nothing's ever going to top those. Those were the best.
Was that the one with Rock the Dwayne Johnson in it?
That
Was that Scorpion?
Dwayne Johnson made a brief appearance. He did. He made a brief appearance in The Mummy Returns at the very end.
Okay.
And the very beginning too, because when they were
right. Flashback.
Yeah.
There was a flashback, and then they got the story going. Yes, and then he got his own spin-off movie called The Scorpion King, and nobody was interested in seeing Rock the Dwayne Johnson play The Scorpion King Part 2.
The soundtrack was banging, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, soundtracks slapped.
I am. Is that what the kids are saying nowadays?
That's
Slapped.
what kids say.
Is that what the kids say? I hear the kids are hip. I'm hip as well. But
You mean your hip is out of place?
yeah, probably. But I am actually I'm still waiting for the next in the installment of Stephen King movies that is going to be tying all of these universes together.
So the Dark Tower series?
Essentially, that's what they're working toward. With
Does it all just culminate in us being able to meet the great the universe turtle?
Yes, essentially that's what it's going to boil down to.
Fantastic.
But the Dr. Sleep actually introduced a little bit into that because there were points, if you haven't seen that movie, there were points where Danny's character was seeing things that may have happened in other universes, other portions of the Stephen King universe.
Great. So Stephen King does a whole lot of cocaine and writes a bunch of crazy shit, and then years later he tries to piece it all together as part of some intricate universe.
Correct.
And actually does a pretty decent job with it. I mean, when you look at most of his singular works, like, Salem's Lot or Stephen King's It or The Stand or any of these other books.
Yeah, how about Cujo? Or how about Christine? How do those work in? How do those work into the big universe?
When you look at those particular books, you don't see them fitting together all that well. You may see little hints here and there, like the fact of the matter that everything fucking takes place in Maine for some goddamn reason.
Maine is awesome.
However, the Dark Tower series is what links everything fucking together, and the fact that there are some parts of the Stephen King book universe that are linked together in the sense that they all take place on the same particular Earth or same particular reality, and then that there are some of his other books that take place in particularly different realities, and that the main bad guy from fucking The Stand, Randall Flagg, he actually makes appearances not only in The Stand, but he also makes appearances in The Dark Tower, as well as also another book of Stephen King's that's actually separate from The Stand and The Dark Tower too, as well. So there is an interconnection there. It's just it was made by a man who was fueled by cocaine and driven insane by Maine somehow, and thus for it's really convoluted and hard to look through.
Well, if you go through and you read, because I've read all of his books, struggled through a lot of them, but I've read most all of them. Dreamcatchers and Tommyknockers actually tie it into the Stephen King universe because there is direct mention of dairy in both of those books.
I was about to say, Pennywise is not the only species,
No.
or not the only one of its species. There's another one of Pennywise in the fucking Dark Tower series.
Yep. But no, I'm one of those people. I love that type of movie, and I like to see them interconnected if they can be interconnected like they have been in the books. I'm still waiting on Patricia Cornwell's K. Scarpetta series to either get a movie adaptation or a straight to TV movie adaptation. That would likely be on Lifetime, but I'm a huge fan of her book. She is a former medical examiner for the state of Virginia, and she's written an entire series of books based around this one character who is the medical examiner for the state, and she gets, into these, different murder mysteries and things like that. They're actually really good books. My mom got me into them, and that was one of the things that one of the interests that her and I shared, was reading those books and then, boring my sister and my stepdad to death with our conversations about them.
You know what series I really would have liked to see take off? The Dirk Pitt series, Sahara, the Raising of Titanic. That particular book series. Has anybody read that at all?
Doesn't ring any bells.
I think I've read like one book, and it was like sometime very long ago.
Yeah. The only book that they ever did as an actual movie was Sahara, which basically has Matthew McConaughey playing the main character, the titular Dirk Pitt, who essentially is a marine archaeologist. And the entire premise of the Sahara is him chasing after a Ironside Confederate warship that got lost in a storm off the coast of Africa and is somewhere in the Sahara Desert that is filled with Confederate gold that was basically taken away before the end of the war, so that the Confederacy could rise again.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
as long as we're doing the crazy shit, think Rising Again, I recommended something to Omega earlier the week or last week or something like that, and I'll put that out there, and then we can shut up and wish everybody farewell. Oh god, I'm not going to be able to remember the name now. Omega, you remember what it is. It's Nazis on the Moon. Iron Iron something or other. I'm gonna look it up. But yeah, Nazis on the Moon.
Oh god. Why am I now interested in this?
Iron Sky.
Iron Sky, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Although
Iron Sky, great movie, and there are a whole bunch of movies that came out after it, also in the Iron Sky vein, similarly titled. I haven't watched any of them, but I'm gonna get around to it. Anyway, that's my point. Crazy shit. The Third Reich will rise again because we have a Nazi moon base that nobody knows about.
I mean, there's weirder shit.
I mean, you're
That's
not
true.
wrong.
I mean, there were
always
whalers
weirder
on
shit.
the moon, supposedly.
That's not supposedly. That's fact. That's a documentary that was filmed in real time and sent back into the past for us to watch in the form of a cartoon. But there are no whales, so we tell tall tales and sing a whaling tune. Enjoy your DMCA strike, Zero. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the Church of Chonkwij podcast. Yeah, it's been a blast, and same time next week, here's Zero to take you out.
Streaming schedule this week again is going to be a little erratic. It's going to be based off of how I'm feeling after work each day this week, and hopefully we'll catch you guys on Thursday and Saturday like normal. Keep an eye on the Twitter machine for any updates, and we will catch you guys next Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Stay batty.
Penis.
Squeak.